did it again. I don't understand when you flip the camera why immediately it flips it around as soon as you press go live. I don't know. This one's going to go all over the place. I usually leave for work at least 40 minutes earlier than I'm usually arriving at work in about 10 minutes. It's Friday. We're into Lent. And I realized that in my course of reversion back to the Catholic faith, I had to come a long way in my faith. Being educated as a kid and not truly understanding what I was being educated about, I had to wrestle with my faith. I had to wrestle with my face too, because I've always had a face for radio. So I have no idea how, because of where I am, I have no idea how like it's going to be choppy. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Still one of my favorite books of all time. It's not a Catholic book. And usually people will say, not judge a book by its cover. And if you don't judge a book by its cover, you actually read the book and, define the contents by the character in the book, right? Like develop whether or not you think it's a good book based on actually reading the book, not just looking at the title and being like, I don't want to manipulate people. So if you're trying not to manipulate people, then you need to read the book. There's directions in the, introduction to the book before you start the first principle. And the directions say, read this chapter first, then go back and read it again with a highlighter. And while you're reading each individual chapter, you offer your friend or someone a dime or a dollar every time they catch you violating one of the principles. I should have given a fortune to people for violating all the principles in How to Win Friends and Influence People. So, I still suggest find a paper copy of How to Win Friends and Influence People and read it. Now I have to go back and address the reversion of my faith. I am a revert. I left my faith for almost 20 years. But I was educated and I was raised and instructed in the Catholic faith, and it took me probably 20 years of wrestling to realize, you know what, this makes a lot of sense, and I probably should give this a more serious look. So how does one learn people skills while trying to inform their conscience and walk out their Catholic faith? Again, it's Friday, it's Lent. I'm not a big fish eater, even though initially the Catholics were deemed the fish eaters. I usually eat peanut butter. And if you've never tried peanut butter and cheese, you should. Peanut butter and cheese is excellent. If you've never had a peanut butter and cheese sandwich, you don't know what you're missing. If someone says to you, hey, have you ever tried peanut butter and cheddar sandwiches? And someone's like, that's disgusting, man. Ask them, have you ever eaten the cheese and peanut butter crackers? They're made with cheese. Use a peanut butter cracker idea. Put a piece of sharp cheddar on your peanut butter sandwich and eat it. I mean, people eat disgusting things like, anyway. It's Friday, it's Lent, no fish, no meat, peanut butter and cheese. Go for it. But how do you win friends and influence people? Well, first you read the instructions of that book. And then as a Catholic, where are the instructions on being a Catholic? Well, first of all, if you're a priest, You actually have a book with instructions in it called the Germ, or the General Instructions for the Roman Missal. And that should at least tell you, well, this is how you get through this liturgy, okay? Because the Mass itself is a prayer. It's a public prayer. So there's your instruction for the Mass. And it talks about active participation now that you've got, the Second Vatican Council, which I don't disagree with. But I'm old enough that I was educated by Catholics that grew up in some parts of the charismatic movement and some of the implementation of the Second Vatican Council that made possibly some misinterpretations of, the findings of Lumen Gentium. I'm not a fan of guitar music at Mass, but I like modern hymns. I actually play guitar and love guitar. Oh boy, this Michelob Ultra truck swung so wide. Okay, so this is hysterical. I see comments, but I can't read them exactly because there's a Michelob Ultra truck. By the way, if you're gonna drink beer, go for the calories. If you're gonna drink beer, go for the calories. If you need to drink alcohol and you don't want to consume calories, then what you need to drink is liquor. You're still gonna get calories, but stop playing with ultra beers. Okay, just it's the same thing with sugar-free. You're putting more chemicals into your body. All right, I'm getting distracted because I almost got hit by a beer truck on a Friday in Lent. I had a small part in Game of Thrones. Okay, what does that mean? You get eaten by a dragon, or was your flaccid floppy wiener in Game of Thrones? That's exciting, Eric. Okay, how to win friends and influence people, and how to be a Catholic that understands. Like, you still need to learn how to talk to people. You need to learn. We all need people skills. Go to the directions of How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie's book. Again, not a Catholic, a Protestant. I don't know what denomination he was, but an American Protestant. Very great examples in the original book. I'm not a big fan of the digital age. I've listened to the Audible version. I don't really care for it as much. I don't like some of the modern examples. But I violate those principles. Again, the directions say, read the chapter first, then go back and read it again and highlight or underline key details. And also offer a friend a dime or a dollar if they catch you violating the principle. But you need to practice the principles and then there's notes sections, blank pages at the end of the book. I mean, you can fit this book in your pocket. You could buy it used in, different, I don't know if Abe Books is still around, but I bought like 15 copies when I was a seminarian, gave them to each one of my my classmates for one of my reflections, and a couple of them gave me the book back, but I made them read parts of the directions to me. So I'm just like, look, even priests need to learn how to talk to people. And the first premise, the first principle that you learn in chapter 1 after you follow the directions is, if you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. If you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. It says you have to develop the deep driving desire to be interested in other people. People's most favorite subject to talk about is themselves. If you would like them to listen to your opinion, you need to actually be interested in their opinion. But the first principle in the book is to never criticize, condemn, or complain. If you don't criticize, condemn, or complain, you can't argue very well. But you can argue. Later on in the book, one of the later principles is not to, no one wins an argument. Like, a person convinced against their will is a person of the same opinion still. I still say, go find this book, go read this book, because Dale Carnegie, in all of his books, based them on talks that he gave. And he gives all kinds of examples of applications applying these principles. So what does that mean on a Friday Lent? Why am I saying this? Because you may have more opposition talking to fellow Catholics than you might to someone who you are charged to go therefore and make disciples of. Someone that says they're a disciple may actually have been catechized improperly. But how do you talk to them if you can't criticize, condemn, or complain? It's probably a lot easier to someone that doesn't even know who Jesus Christ is than it is to someone who's been catechized about the sacraments and the one true church and the faith of, like the communion of saints, purgatory. And yet, when you discuss things with them and they say, how could you be a Catholic and fill in the blank? How could you say that you are this and also believe this? See, there are direct criticisms and there are passive-aggressive, indirect criticisms. There are cowardly, cheap ways to disagree with someone. Cheap ways in that, if two people do not share the same opinion, here's a question. Which one is right and which one is wrong? If someone is attacking your opinion, is your opinion subject to right or wrong? It depends. But it's your opinion. So if I'm going to say, look, dude, your opinion is wrong, I need to be able to understand that I'm talking to an individual who believes something different. So what's amazing is, for a universal church, all right, dude, I put the blinker on, I slowed down, you didn't read the signs. When people wait till the last second to merge, the biggest issue is you didn't read the sign. It's not my fault. When you try to get in at the end because your lane is done, you have ignored every piece of sign prior. Just read the signs. Lost my train of thought. This is a live stream. I'm so glad that it took me this many years to get the ability once again to be able to stream live so that everybody can try to follow my ADD. I'm sorry. So, a person convinced against their will is a person of the same opinion still. Do not engage with someone who has an alternate opinion by telling them, look, man, you're wrong. Because no one wins an argument. So where is this in the Catholic faith, right? Where is this? Because we do, as Catholics, understand there are evils that are not subject to your, you can reason them out. You can use your reason. We did not come to these by our own, we were able to use our reason to help understand, look, this is the nature of reality itself. This is what happened. This was written into the tablet of your heart. But what did Jesus say on the cross? You're wrong. I'm going to show all of you guys. Just wait. No. He talked directly to the Father and said, Father, forgive them because they know not what they do. Now, did he say that to them? I mean, he was talking out loud, so they heard him. But they even said, look, he's calling to Elijah. He's calling to Elijah. Maybe he'll come down. Maybe he'll just show us. More recently, I have learned that even though they attribute the quote that to St. Francis, that you live out the gospel and if necessary use words, is not St. Francis. But it still does not make it a bad idea. But you may disagree with that. You may say, you know what? You need to be able to tell somebody something. Well, if you tell someone, hey, look, I know you believe that there's a giant spaghetti monster. Hey, look, I know you believe that aliens have abducted people. Hey, look, I know you believe that the Democrats are doing what's right and just in line with Catholic teaching. I know that you may say any one of those things. But if all I say in response is, look, you believe that and you're wrong, that conversation may seem as if it could be cordial and remain cordial, but that conversation is over. If you are to go out and go therefore and make disciples of all nations, how do you do that? And also, how do you do that? And also not criticize, condemn, or complain? Maybe inside your heart, you start with, Father, forgive me, for I know not what I do. Nail my heart to the cross. If you do get the opportunity to go to Stations of the Cross today, and you have the opportunity to read The Way of the Cross, St. Alphonsus wrote those words as a prayer. Lord, nail my heart to the cross so that it may remain there, and that I may help this individual to see, because I am broken. Recognize first that no one wins an argument. But if you would like to be carrying out the mission and to not be cast out and hear, I never knew you, and the first thing you need to do is form, well, where am I wrong in this? How can I see it from their perspective? How can I remember that my success is God's success, and that it is tied in no small instance to my success in dealing with people, getting along with people? Later in that How to Win Friends and Influence People, one of the best phrases that you can say is, look, I could be wrong. But you have to start with, where could I be wrong? And since, as usual, these live streams devolve into me trying to gather my thoughts and end where I start, how do you win friends and influence people? It is the Lord. Jump into the water and try. But if you are going to drag fish to the shore, start with, I'm sorry, Lord. I'm sorry that I let my anger get in the way of a good discussion. I'm sorry that I let the differences of our opinions make me think that I'm always right and they're always wrong. And please, Lord, nail my heart to the cross, because it is my heart in suffering through this, that I truly love you, and I want to bring all of the people that I love and all of the people that have great arguments, even when they're misguided. I want to bring all of those people back to you. We need to begin where we ended, or we need to end where we began, excuse me. So take this Friday as the sun rises. Remember that the one true church that asks you to continue the prayer that's going out around the earth, which until we get to Mars is the only colonized place in this solar system. Pray the Liturgy of the Hours. Read the readings of the day. And remember that you are in that sacred silence listening to the public reverberation of the Holy Spirit. All right. Now I always do this where I've got to figure out how to turn it off. How do I turn it off? There's a share button. I don't know what the heck that means. So I don't know. All right, I'm going to screenshot these comments because that's the biggest issue that I have. All right, there's this, no, okay, screenshot does work. Well, thank you for the 1 thumbs up and the 4 watching. I think at one point it went up, but most of the time I'm simply just talking to myself. But for anybody who's listening, thank you for listening. Thank you for commenting. I appreciate thumbs down too, but Google is so corrupt that I can't even see how many people thumbs down a video. They no longer give me the ability to see it. So how the heck am I ever going to learn other than maybe comment in the comments section? Thumbs down, because that's the only way we see it now. And I disagree with Elon on one thing. Hashtags and @ symbols are the only way to click on text and actually route it. Like, that's the only way. Hashtags and your handle are the only things that you can click on in a post. So keep hashtagging. I don't care what it looks like. It's there for reference. Thanks for watching. Where the heck is the... How do I stop this? What's that mean? Start a poll. Do you know what you're talking about? No. No, I do not. There it is.